All right, everybody, welcome into the Swishlist Podcast, Season 2, Episode 11. We got so much to talk about, from the trade deadline to the top of the Western Conference. Who do we think might be able to win the title based on these new teams that we've seen? Wemby puts up a triple-double in blocks, Killian Hayes gets released, and what's going on with the Warriors? Are they cooked or are they cooking? We need to talk about it, a lot to discuss. Let's jump right in. First and foremost, the trade deadline, it's over. What you see is what you get with the NBA rosters today. And to be honest, it just felt like there wasn't the same trades that we've seen in years previous. There haven't been the buyouts that we've seen in previous years with maybe these high-level role players signing with championship-level teams. Why has this year felt like such a dud and the trade deadline falling in line with that, Roman? Why did we miss?
I think a lot of teams hit their expectations, especially the higher up teams, especially in the West, like Suns, Clippers, Timberwolves. They're all performing really well. So I think for them, it's just keep on that stride, keep going. I mean, even with the Lakers, I think most people knew that it was just going to be another average season for them at this point, maybe a couple games over, a couple games under. But the way D'Lo has been performing, I mean, they couldn't really make any moves. But again, I think teams their good players perform well, their bad players didn't perform well, but it stayed pretty consistent this year.
It also feels like there really isn't a team that's just had a dramatic collapse. There really are no surprises in terms of what we're seeing output-wise from the NBA. Like, it's so strange. I mean, I guess you could say the Warriors aren't as good as maybe some people thought, but it also felt like this was a little bit expected, that you'd see the regression happen, given some of the issues they've had in the locker room over the last couple of years. And it's still not perfect, to be honest, but I don't know, man. It's like this year, it just has really felt flat. It's just really landed flat. And this is when the NBA season is supposed to really take off. The Super Bowl already took place yesterday. Like, there's no competition on television. Like, this is supposed to be when the NBA really dominates. And the trade deadline was like the thing that kicks off the second half of the season. And man, it felt a little bit like a miss to me. But at the same time, if you're a fan of the league, you could probably find some peace of mind in the fact that there weren't all-star players begging to get traded. And that is something we've seen quite a bit. And so to be in a place where people, at least today, seem like they're relatively okay with their situation, or there's no issues, maybe that's the biggest win, is that there's consistency and continuity in the NBA. There were a couple moves that were made. Now, I don't know if when LeBron posted that cryptic tweet with the hourglass, if getting Spencer Dinwiddie was what was going to solve that. But that was the big acquisition from the Lakers. They picked up Spencer Dinwiddie, another point guard. The Gabe Vincent era was not a win. That was a reach. It was a reach. I think Miami got the most out of him as a player. And so you're going and you're getting a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie. He had a pretty funny video where it was pretty much down to the Lakers and the Mavericks. And he was kind of like, yeah, I want to go somewhere that doesn't make me feel like I'm running back to my mom. And so I thought that was pretty funny. But no big moves from the Lakers. That's not a surprise. They really weren't actually in a position to do very much, and they didn't have the pieces to do it either. They don't have first-round picks in the next few seasons, and they don't have the assets that can be combined to really make a big splash. So we saw Patrick Beverley go to the Milwaukee Bucks, another backup level point guard, and immediately started acting like he was running the team. And I don't know if you saw the clip of him and Brook Lopez, but Brook looked like he wanted nothing of the conversation. Was like, dude, get out of my freaking face, man. Get out of my
New
freaking
guy
face.
comes in, thinks he runs the team. Oh, I love it.
That is so Patrick Beverley. I'm genuinely curious what he's going to do post-career, or how close we even are, because it feels like I'm like, how much longer we can keep doing this? Anyways, were there any trades that stood out to you at all, or anybody you want to call out?
Buddy Hield went to the 76ers, which I think would be really interesting. I mean, the guy's a 20-point per game scorer, close to it, but one of the better three-point shooters, one of the best that we've seen in the last few years. So I think he'll be really good for the 76ers. He's probably been the one that I've locked in on the most. Another one that's been pretty interesting for me is the Mavericks. They went out and got PJ Washington. They got rid of Grant Williams with all the chemistry issues and all that was going on. They also got Daniel Gafford, and I think he's going to be really big for the Mavericks. His first, his debut and his game after were really good. It seemed like a media connection, uh, perfect lob guy for Luca. He's one of the best pick and roll guys in the league. He showed that with the Wizards, and now he's going to be catching lobs, coming off picks for Kyrie Irving and Luca. So what could you ask more for?
He went from a guy that nobody would know at all to becoming a relatively more relevant player. You got to give him a shout out there. What's interesting with the Mavericks was it wasn't necessarily that they wanted PJ Washington or wanted to make some of these moves. It was that they wanted to get rid of Grant Williams, which is really funny. And going into the year, he started wearing Luca's, right? Luca's his teammate. And a couple weeks ago, he switched back to Jason Tatum's. I wonder if he's just more annoying than anything. I just think that and I think like, you see it on the court that he kind of has those tendencies. Like, he really is a disruptor, an agitator, kind of get under your skin guy. But I guess he just gets under his own teammates' skin more than anybody, because when they played the Celtics, I think if you remember, I'm pretty sure Jason Tatum blocked him on like a end of the quarter, end of the half shot, and was talking all that mess to him in his ear. And so everybody was kind of like, "Oh, it's kind of weird. I thought they were closer." And now the Mavericks were like, "Yeah, dude, everybody thinks you're freaking annoying. We are going to ship you out." And they got rid of him. And not only did they trade him, they traded him to NBA Siberia. He went to the Charlotte Hornets, the worst team in the league, where their all-stars are laughing while they're getting blown out by 20, 30, 40 points. Just a disaster. So Grant Williams, I'm sorry, but this is probably the end of your career. You've been sent to literally the middle of nowhere, and we may never hear your name again. We may never hear your name again. But
At
I'm
least he's
happy for
happy.
Yeah, he's happy today, but that won't last. In regards to Philadelphia, going for Buddy Hield might have been one of the best quality moves. Now, the Pacers were not happy with his defense. He really doesn't play defense, like, at all. But Philly's going to take the three-point shooting, and strong three-point shooting has been a key aspect of those teams. I think of back when JJ Redick was on those teams with Embiid, and how valuable having a piece like that was. And to be honest, this is the first time he's gotten to play for a true contender, going from Sacramento to Indiana, now with Philly. This is a great opportunity for him to really get to play when it matters most in the postseason, and to play next to some strong teammates. So very excited for Buddy Hield there, and we'll see how he fits in the rotation, where they already have a couple players that are very ball dominant with Tobias Harris. Like, there's not going to be enough shots to go around. So I'm curious to see who takes the step back. The last thing I would say about the trade deadline, this wasn't a trade, but if you're a Detroit fan, you're going to love this. Killian Hayes got cut. He's done. He will no longer be playing for the Detroit Pistons. That's right. Monty Williams had an epiphany and finally decided that Jaden Ivey should get some minutes. And the kid has been balling. He has been balling. Shout out to Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes. I'm not sure what's next for him, but based on what we have seen, it doesn't look like the NBA is in the cards.
Yeah, this was one of the funnier moves of the trade deadline. I mean, we heard earlier on in the season that Killian Hayes' camp and his agent and his team were looking for something different. They wanted to get him out of Detroit, and Detroit responded by saying, "We have the perfect move. We'll just release you from the team." So I thought
Yeah.
it was really funny to see that he got waived, and it just made sense. So props
Well,
to them finally
it's
getting
not like
one
he
of the
had trade
stones.
value. There was no
Yeah.
value in a trade for him. Nobody wanted that guy. Nobody. The next time you'll see Killian Hayes is in the Olympics playing for France, if he makes the team.
Yeah, we better
Like,
see you overseas, buddy.
that'll be the next time you see him. That'll be the next time you see him. Genuinely. Oh, Bogdanovich also got traded to the Knicks. I feel bad for his knees, because, if you're going to play for Tom Thibodeau, you're about to be playing 42 minutes, 46 minutes a game. So gotta feel bad for that guy.
I
Gotta
think
feel
he
bad.
said something like I can't remember what he said, but it was something about him being excited to play for him. He was like, "That's how we play overseas." I said something like that.
You have to say
Uh,
that stuff, dude. You have to say
I
that kind
know
of
it's
stuff.
the
Like, what else are
coach.
you supposed to say?
Team
Yeah, like,
chemistry goes down if you say the wrong thing immediately.
it's
And in
just
New
like,
York,
bro,
you don't got time for it.
don't play me 42, big dog. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get you 43. Ridiculous.
OG's getting all the forward minutes. So Bobby can just be in there to score the ball, but
Yeah, 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 yeah,
OG will
yeah.
get 47 minutes.
Mm. No, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. We do have All-Star Weekend coming up this weekend, which is, as far as news, we'll see what really comes of it. Doesn't really feel like it's going to be something a lot of people are going to watch. There's not a lot of buzz, but for me, it is really cool because All-Star Weekend was when we launched this podcast. Our first videos came out right after All-Star Weekend. And so it's near and dear to my heart because it means that we've been doing this for a while. We're about to hit the 1 year mark of making podcasts and releasing content and to get to do this and spend time with you. It's been a blast. So really excited to kind of celebrate that. But back to basketball. Back less about us, back to basketball. I'm looking at the top of the Western Conference. I see the Timberwolves, Oklahoma City, a couple teams we've seen be there for a while. But there's a team there now named the LA Clippers. And I just want to take a moment and pat myself on the back because we told all of y'all that the Clippers were going to work. We said, there's no way this doesn't work. I'm telling you, it's good. It's about as good as it can get for this team. You just got to give them some time. They're going to figure it out and they're going to absolutely dominate this league. And guess what? All we hear right now in the media is crickets because everybody was trashing that team when they were losing games. And now they're up. They're up big. What
I
do
think
you feel the reason Clippers have turned things around and become such a dominant team?
this is when you talked about it more specifically. I was kind of in between. I didn't know if it was going to work. My thing
Thank
exactly
you.
was that they needed to figure out who was going to play when, the team chemistry. You have guys who had played together. Russ had played with PG. He played with Harden. Like you've got different guys who had played together already. And so
Mhm.
he's just finding that connection. And it was like, I think they had lost like their first 6 games when all four of them were together and it was
Yeah.
this Clipper unit. But I think it finally worked out. They were getting bashed for the first few weeks, but they're at the top of the West now. And again, you have four of the greats to play basketball. So eventually it was going to work out. And now they see themselves in the top of the West. And I think it's just because Russ took a back seat. I shouldn't say a back seat, but he let those three be the big three of the team.
Yeah.
And it's working out for them. I mean, PG's all-star, Kawhi, all-star, James Harden putting up the numbers that he always does. And
Yeah.
Russ is controlling the bench. So this team looks really good.
To be honest, the Clippers are like the Buffalo Bills. They're a team that has championship pedigree, but they've never been able to get over the hump and play in the finals, right? They're always running into somebody that's a little bit better, the same way the Bills are running into Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. Like, we talk about them like they should be a great team, but we're just waiting to see it in the postseason. And I think that's where we're in the same place that we've been every year. And I'm happy that they've figured it out. I said that the secret to this team making a deep playoff run is getting enough games under their belt as a unit. That means they had to be healthy at this point and healthy in the postseason, and they can't be resting different guys. They need to play at the same time. And we have gotten to see that up to this point. Knock on wood. I want to make sure that they stay healthy because I do believe that the recipe to beat a Jokic or an Embiid in the postseason is a roster composition like the Clippers, where there's mismatches at every other position and they're attacking Jokic and can get him into foul trouble. You have to have enough guys that are talented enough to score driving the ball, can kick, or get Jokic into foul trouble. You get him off the floor, that's a different Denver Nuggets team. That's the only way to beat him. And I believe the Clippers are in prime position to do it, maybe more than anybody else in the Western Conference. But at this point, there's not much more to be said about that team until we get to the postseason. But I appreciate you recognizing the fact that I had been saying this was going to happen. And here we are. That leaves the
Yeah.
Timberwolves as far as another top team. The Clippers and the Timberwolves are playing tonight. Wolves beat them pretty bad. But there's a page that has recently gone viral a few times called NBA Legends. I know you've seen them. They're the ones that are pulling the audio from games and releasing it as clips of what the
Record
players are
audio.
saying to each other.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's so great. But Anthony Edwards, he is going at these old guys, man. He is
Every way
talking
is a
that
talker.
talk and backing it up. Did you see the clip of him talking to Kawhi Leonard?
On the free throw?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Calling him an
On the
old
old
man? Yeah. Yeah, and Kawhi's just like, "Oh,
classic call I
uh."
respond. I'll just score on it. It won't matter.
I love it, man. I love it, and it just proves that, like, sure, to the cameras, they're all friends, but when they get in there, there's some dogs in this league. Anthony Edwards is one of them ones, and I think he's got. I watch a lot of NFL, so anybody that's listening, I try to make some football parallels. You just came off the NFL season. I feel like it's fitting. To me, I know a lot of people call him, the baby Jordan. I feel like that's a bit much. Those aren't the type of expectations you want to heap on a guy because this year it's baby Jordan, and then next year we're asking why he's not Michael Jordan. That's what happens when you start doing this. But to me, I think he's got like a Lamar Jackson element to him where he just has this incredible ceiling, incredible athleticism, can do whatever he wants. But Minnesota was praising winning a play-in game or winning an early playoff series and then getting bounced pretty quick. We're hoping to see them make a deeper run, and I believe I'm nervous. I don't believe they can necessarily do it with Rudy Gobert specifically. But nonetheless, this is about as fun a team as you'll ever get to watch in Minnesota.
Agreed. Timberwolves look good.
We also big news. Kobe Bryant was in the media. He had his statue announced, and Roman, you don't love it. You don't love it.
I don't. I mean, we've been looking forward to this for such a long time. And you mentioned it earlier. I mean, Magic statue, Shaq statue,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan statue outside the Bulls arena. All these are perfect replicas of, they really represent what the player is. And yes, Kobe's going to get 3 statues, but most people agree this statue just does not look good. It looks, I don't know, rushed, or I don't know what the story is behind it. Hopefully we get a good reason as to why it looks the way it does. But very I was not very happy with the way it looked.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Vanessa Bryant in the interview or when they announced it, she was like, "And anybody that has a problem, this is the statue Kobe said he wanted." I don't think anybody has a problem with the moment that they chose. They have a problem with what they did to his face. Like it doesn't look like him. And if statues didn't look a lot like the players, I would get it. But like the Magic's statue looks like Magic Johnson. Shaq Shaq might have the coolest statue of any professional athlete. He might have the greatest statue for a pro on planet Earth. And if you think it's somebody else, if you're listening to this right now and you think it's somebody else, I want to know. Go leave a comment on this video. If you're listening to the podcast, send us a DM. I want to know, who do you think has the best statue in pro sports? Because in my opinion, Shaquille O'Neal with the two-hand dunk that's pretty sick. I mean, that is
He
iconic.
represents him and it looks good.
It's great. And so to turn around and for Kobe the pose was a little bit off. It wasn't quite right. And then the face is not right at all. We've seen them redo it in the past. Like it wouldn't be unheard of to have it be redone. And you can't tell me that if Kobe Bryant was alive, he would look at that statue and say, "Yep, that's perfect." I just don't believe it. I
It doesn't look
just
like him.
don't believe it. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
He's bad.
And talking about rookies, Victor Wembanyama, if you have the NBA app, you're getting a notification every night about Victor Wembanyama. Tonight was actually pretty cool. He had a triple double tonight with blocks. He got to the triple double with blocks. And there is a stat that has floated around that he will put up at the end of the season better defensive numbers than Rudy Gobert when he won Defensive Player of the Year. When he won
I didn't know that.
Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can go and look at this. I just want to give him a shout out. Not that he needs it, but pretty great. San Antonio's had a rough season. To see him continue to show up, he's got that competitive aspect to him. He comes to play every night. There was a statement that was made though by Gobert after he got snubbed for the All-Star game, that he said that this would get talked about when he's in the Hall of Fame or at his Hall of Fame speech. Roman, is Rudy Gobert a Hall of Famer?
Yes. As
N-
much as I hate to say it, yes.
No,
What?
no, no. I thought
Come
we
on.
were on the same page. I didn't think you were going to say yes. Yes is crazy.
Yes.
Yes is crazy. For
He will
what?
go down as one of the greatest defenders of all time.
No,
The
no,
guy has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards.
no,
Plenty of
no,
guys
no,
who
no,
have won much less who are
no.
in the Hall of Fame.
Come on. Come on.
This guy still has years too. Come on, Moses.
Come
Come
on.
on. I don't like him either.
He still has
But the
years
guy
left.
the guy is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. Three
He's not a
three
Hall of
times,
Famer.
Moses.
He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a and
I don't know.
Marc Gasol has the Defensive Player of the Year and wasn't even on the all
Not 3 of
NBA
them, though.
all defensive team. Okay?
Not
Like,
3 of
come
them,
on.
though. 3 is crazy. 3 of them,
He's not a Hall of Famer.
and it's
He's
not like his career is
okay.
over.
Okay. How can you
The
be
guy
a
still
Hall of
has at least
Famer?
probably 5
How
years.
okay. How can you be a Hall of Famer if at no point in your career were you even the best player on your team? How can you be a
Uh,
Hall of Famer? You were never the best player on your team. So how are you
Tony
a Hall of
Parker.
Famer?
Tony Parker. Always
Okay,
had Tim Duncan.
that's
Come
different.
on.
That's different. That's
Come
different.
on.
Tony Parker
Okay,
has
every
more
situation is gonna be different.
no. Tony Parker has more playoff points than Dwayne Wade, okay? He has
Valid.
he has if you look at the names of in the playoffs of players that Tony Parker has outscored, he has a resume for why he should be in the Hall of Fame. He also has won multiple championships. Rudy Gobert
He
can't
does
do
have a
anything in
finals
the
MVP
postseason.
too. The man has a finals
He,
MVP.
you dang right he does. So he's justified. He clears.
I'm trying to think of another name. But come on, Moses. He will go down as one of the greatest defenders of all time.
Listen, man. Listen,
The
you're just
defensive
upset
rating
because
is
I
there.
debunked the name right away because I snatched it from
Manu
your heart.
Ginobili.
I snatched it
Go
from your
another sport.
freaking heart. Come on, man. Golly. No, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer.
I say
And
yes.
anybody that tries to campaign to see Gobert in the Hall of Fame, you're a joke. And your vote should be revoked. You shouldn't be allowed to vote if you're going to say Rudy Gobert should be in the Hall of Fame. Can you name a Hall of Fame center that is worse than Rudy Gobert?
I don't know my Hall of Famers like that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
No.
Shut
Well,
up.
obviously
Yes,
the
you
obvious
do.
names, but like okay, let me do some research.
Yeah, why don't you? Why don't you? And what you're going to quickly find is he is far and away, though he would far and away be the worst center in the Hall of Fame. George Mikan clears.
No.
Wilt Chamberlain clears. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar clears. Shaq clears.
Dikembe Mutombo.
Clears easily. Went to a finals.
Okay, he went to a finals. Come on, Moses.
He clears. Mutombo
He
clears
went to a
Gobert.
finals.
Mutombo
Okay, but
clears.
okay, Mutombo has one more Defensive Player of the Year award.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And he wasn't a liability in the postseason. That's a big deal. There was a point where he was the best player on his team.
Grant Hill.
Grant Hill's not a center, but good try.
Okay. Forgot you were
Good effort. Grant Hill also easily clears because you're looking at the totality of a career, and you got to look at what he did at Duke as well. Because the NBA Hall of Fame takes your entire career into account.
Chris Bosh is a 2-time NBA champion.
and was the
but
best player on his team, was a dominant player for the
on
Toronto
the
Raptors.
Raptors,
He was
like,
dominant. He was dominant.
come on.
He clears. He clears. You're telling me that if you
Tony
were
Kukoc.
as a center, I'm pretty
No,
sure
he's a
Kukoc
forward.
played power
He's a
forward.
forward.
Yeah, he played forward.
Yeah. Okay, Chris Webber. That's the only
Clears.
nice kind of forward.
Clears. Not even
No,
close.
Moses.
Not even close.
No,
Chris
Moses.
Webber is so much better than Gobert. You're
Okay,
telling me
as
if
a
we're in the
player,
park,
yes.
if we're in the park and you have prime Chris
No.
Webber and
You
prime Rudy
can't go
Gobert,
park,
and
Moses.
you get to pick who is on your team, no one on planet Earth picks Gobert. Not even
You're getting
Gobert's
away.
mother is going to pick
You're
him.
getting away.
Gobert's
You're
mother
getting
doesn't
away.
even pick him.
You're
Gobert's
getting
mother
away
doesn't pick
from the
him.
point. You're choosing Park. Are you serious? Nobody's picking Rudy Gobert.
You're dang right.
Killian
That's why
Hayes
nobody
over
picked
him.
him for the All-Star game. That's why nobody picked him for the All-Star game. That's why nobody ever picks him, because he's not actually that good. He's not. He's not.
Stop it. Stop.
He is not.
The guy will be a Hall of He will.
No, no,
He
he
will.
won't. No, he won't.
He will. Artist Gilmore.
Clears. You can't give me a name that doesn't clear. Look at these guys. Look at their resumes compared to Gobert. Gobert's a joke, man.
I think you're hating. I think you're an extreme hater right now. You need to show a little bit of love to the guy.
Dude,
Robert Parrish
Three
was on
defensive
winning
player of the year.
teams, but come on.
He's a champion. He's a champion.
Okay, so if Rudy wins a championship, is he a Hall of Famer?
No, because
Okay, you're a hater.
it-
You're a hater.
no,
You're a hater. You're just hating. Like extreme
He's
hating,
not a Hall of
Moses.
Fame
Like
player.
more than hate. You're more than hating right now. This is actually crazy.
No.
I don't know what's going on with you.
no,
I
it's
don't like the guy,
justified.
but
He's
come
not a
on.
Hall of Fame player.
Come on.
Minnesota. Okay, first of all, Minnesota's not winning a championship while Gobert is there. They're not. They're not winning a championship with Rudy
I
Gobert,
agree.
which really sucks
I
because I
agree.
like Minnesota and I like Anthony Edwards. But this man has more highlights of people scoring on him or crossing him up than he does himself. Like the guy has
Because you
he
can't
has no
put what he
highlights.
does in the highlights. You don't put what he does in highlights.
So what are they going to play if he goes to the Hall of Fame?
Times that he dunks on people because he does dunk on people.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe his one.
Look, I get
three-pointer.
it. I get it. You want me to walk away from this? I've talked enough about Gobert here.
Let
I'm
us
just
know
telling
in the
you.
comments. Let us know.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Is Rudy Gobert a future Hall of Famer? I want to know what people think. I'm very curious.
Well, that's going to be a hill you're going to die on alone.
He's 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, one of the greatest big men defenders of all time. Is he going to the Hall of Fame?
He should never be in a conversation for greatest defensive players of all time. Ever.
Okay, greatest defensive centers.
He should
Center.
never be in the same sentence as a Hakeem Olajuwon in terms of defense. Ever. Never. Not a day in his life.
I would have to agree with you because nobody really compares to that guy. Then second year.
He should not be in the same breath as Dikembe Mutombo defensively.
The guy's probably got one more Defensive Player of the Year. Come on.
He has one more Defensive Player of the Year, better postseason performance, was the best player on his team, and it could actually score the ball offensively.
76ers.
And could score the ball on the offensive end.
So can
Actually
Rudy Gobert. The guy
No,
has
he
had a
can't.
year where he's averaged close to 20 points per game.
He has no post moves.
Obviously, he has something. Guy can average over 15 points a game.
Something's a stretch.
Anyways, let us know. Please let us know.
Yeah. Let us know whose side you're on. You want to be on the winning side, or do you want to go with this guy
No.
who
You
once
gotta-
again, who I know this was a miss just on his end, but said Grant Hill when we were talking about centers. You want to go with that guy? You want to go with him? You should
No,
never. You should never go with this guy. You always
Okay.
got to stick with the man
Okay.
that knows ball. That's me.
I see what you're doing. I see what
Golly.
you're doing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. A lot of publicity right now focused around two players for Golden State. It's Klay Thompson because he seems like he's washed. Everybody in the media is saying he's washed. He's been benched late in games. And the second is Draymond Green, who once again, cannot stay out of trouble. Has to be yelling at somebody, hitting somebody, causing some kind of issue. You want to talk about Clay or Draymond first?
Probably Clay.
Want to talk about Clay? Okay, so given what we've seen from Clay Thompson up to this point in the season, we're about halfway through. Is he washed? And if so, what do you do if you're the Warriors?
No, he's not washed because every single time this happens, it's just what happens in the NBA. Like he's getting older, but like he has some bad games here and there. But the guy can still drop 25, 30 points any given night. Like, he has some bad weeks, which means he is declining, but washed is crazy. Washed is crazy from a guy who can give you 10 threes on any given night. So
Used
no,
to,
he's not
used
washed.
to, used to. So
Chill.
okay. I had talked about this going into the season. I took a little bit of heat from in the comments about it, but I genuinely believe that what Klay Thompson should do is he should take the Manu Ginobili approach. He needs to move to the bench and play and be the a primary scorer with the bench unit. He needs to let he
Four
needs to
rings.
let what?
4 rings.
No, listen.
He's too
He needs to
prideful.
let
There's no way.
Kuminga. The offense needs to run through Steph Curry and Kuminga. That's who the offense needs to run through. And when those guys get subbed out, you're going to run the offense through Klay Thompson and Chris Paul. Chris Paul is going to feed Klay, get him into the right spots. He's going to be your volume shooter when the stars, because he's just not a star anymore, when the stars are getting a little bit of rest. That way, you don't have to move Klay. He still gets to play with Steph. The chemistry is still there. The continuity is still there. You're retaining all of the championship experience because we know that these guys want to keep playing together. That is the way that this works. I just think that Clay at this point, there's a little bit too much pride to be willing to take that step back. And it's not like arrogance. I think it's more just I think he's sad. I think he's just like frustrated and a little bit down on himself that he's even in this situation. And so I think it's kind of feeding the maybe some of the bad games. But I genuinely believe that if you want to stretch this run that Golden State's been on, it starts with Klay Thompson off the bench.
I like the way you think, but then again, like I was just saying before, Mr. Four Ring is a little bit too prideful to ever see that happen.
Yeah.
That was a great point at the end there that you said, like, it is sad because Steph has not declined. He's still putting up his numbers.
No. Yeah.
Draymond, I mean, can you really
He's a
say he
mess.
declined? I mean, the guy puts up his 9.7 assists, 8 rebounds. Like, this is what he's been doing for the team. This is what he's always done for the team. So it's like he's not really declining per se either. And it's like, where is their primary defender hit 8 threes a game on 4 dribbles? He's just not the same player that he was 6 years ago, which
Mhm.
hurts to him. And like you said, it's probably hurting his games. But yeah,
I think Draymond Green is probably the first NBA player we're worried about CTE issues. And I don't know if he's ever had a head injury, but this guy is he's out of control. He's just out of control, man. He's out of control. And now that his podcast is back up, I think he cares more about getting something he can talk about on the podcast than doing what he needs to do. It just feels like it's a bit much. It feels forced. I don't love it. And I genuinely believe he's going to end up being a liability in the postseason. I think him and Clay, both of them are going to be liabilities for different reasons. And you're going to see a pretty early exit for the Golden State Warriors with leaving people with a lot more questions than answers. I feel bad for the GM. He's got some very, very difficult decisions to make.
the man is passionate, probably a little bit too passionate about the
There's
game.
no probably. It's too much. It's too much.
Hey, been winning though. Come on now.
Yeah.
5 out of the last 6. Come on. Come on.
Okay,
It
so
is
who are you?
regular season.
So are you taking them over Oklahoma City?
No,
You taking them over Minnesota?
no.
You taking them over the Clippers?
Oklahoma City, I don't know.
You taking them over the Clippers?
Steph could do it.
You taking them
No,
over the Clippers? You taking
no,
them over the Nuggets?
no.
You taking them over the Mavericks?
No.
Okay, so there you go. So they're not beating anybody that they're playing against in the playoffs. You have that means you have them pegged for a first round exit. You know that, right?
This
Like
is
that's what that
exactly what
means.
we were saying 2 years ago. And you know what happened? What happened 2 years ago?
It's 2024. It's not 22. It's not 22. It's 24. It's 24.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what everybody said when it was 2022, and they're like, "It's
It's not
2018
2022 though.
anymore."
It's not
This is
2022 though.
2018.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, right? So it goes 2022, 2023, 2024. So it's 2024, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not actually 2022. It's
They
2024.
said the same thing when it was 2022, and they were saying it's not 2018 anymore. 4 years ago, the last time the guys had won. Look what they did.
Yeah, but it's not. But
They
it's
went out
different,
and
right?
beat the Celtics.
Yeah, yeah, no, but it's different because it's a different year and like age. This isn't a video game, right? So age like matters. Having Chris Paul on the
Look
bench,
at what they
yeah,
did. They just that good good.
yeah, yeah. Though they can't though. Like, they
You watched
can't.
the Warriors work.
Yeah, but you just put
Warriors work.
5 teams over them, which means that they're gonna lose in the first
You
round.
watched them work.
Granted, I think they could win a first round series if they get the right matchup, but they're gonna lose. They will not make it to a conference finals,
A
and
couple
you can
years
sell your
ago,
home and put your money on that.
I feel like they got a little lucky. I mean, they played the Grizzlies and the Mavericks to
Yeah, they did.
get to their
Yeah.
finals. So it was like they beat the Celtics though, but like
They
their
did beat
path
the
to the
Celtics.
finals, I can't remember who their
It was very
first round
easy.
was. I can't remember who their first round was that year, but they beat the Grizzlies, which I mean, Jared Jackson Jr. could
Did
obviously
they
not.
play the Lakers?
No, it was the next year because that year the Lakers lost to the Suns in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure in the first round. Hope that
Mm.
bracket cool. I can't remember their first round.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. They beat the Nuggets because
First,
somebody was hurt. Jamal Murray was out.
Jamal Murray was out that year. That's who they played first round.
Then they beat Memphis, and then they beat the
Yeah,
Mavericks.
yeah.
Yes, but there was no Jamal Murray, right? And that was the thing because it was the back-to-back years that there was, like, no Jamal Murray in the postseason.
Yeah, that playoff run is kind of.
It was weak.
They beat the Celtics though, and the Celtics were hot that year. Those are the same year. I think they 4-0'd the Bucks first round that year. No. They 4-0'd the
No.
Nets first round that year.
Yes. They 4-0'd Kevin
Yeah.
Durant.
Yes, Kevin Durant and Kyrie. That's a playoff series that he was flipping off the crowd. That was
Yeah,
first round.
that was hilarious. That was hilarious. In other news, my Bucks are at the 3 seed right now. They were flirting with, like, the 6 seed for a minute, but they're back up to the 3 seed. Cavs have moved into the 2 seed, which great for them. Donovan Mitchell, great regular season player, never does anything in the postseason. We'll see that happen again. Rounded out with the Knicks at the 4, Sixers at the 5, Magic at the 6. So the Magic back in postseason contention. Good to see them back there. Pacers, Heat at the 8 seed. I'm excited to get to see Orlando in the postseason. I'm really excited. Paolo Banchero has resurrected the Orlando Magic, and right now we're about a year or two too early from saying that, but I'm happy for him. Yes, sir.
Who do you think is going to win MVP? I forgot I wanted to ask you this because now that Joel is out, I think Giannis is at the top of the rankings. But I mean, Jokic is right there. I think Luka moved up, and then Jason Tatum's in there. You know, like who do you think's going to win?
It's a narrative-driven award. I don't think Jokic is going to win it. I believe it's probably between Luka and Kawhi Leonard. And to be honest, we know that the NBA wants to give Luka an MVP. Like, they want to give him an MVP. Before Wemby, Luka was the guy that every notification was Luka Doncic. I believe Luka's probably going to win it. I believe Luka's
If
going to
they
win
can
it.
finish top 4 or 5, if they can finish top 4 in the West, I think he could be MVP. I'd agree with you on that. If they can finish top 4,
Right now,
but
they're
if they're
the
not
8th
top
seed.
4,
They're the 8th
because they had a
seed.
hot start. They had a hot
No.
start, but then they kind of
Yeah.
cooled off.
They've won 5 straight, but they're the 8th seed right now.
Right.
I think it's Luka?
If they go top 4, I think he gets it. But
But I don't
honestly, I
like
think
Luka. I
Giannis
don't
will
like
probably
Luka.
win it.
I don't like Luka. I'm not a Luka guy. I'm not.
Giannis is going to win it.
I'd be happy if Giannis won it. I'd be happy if Giannis won it. I've still got
At
them
this
winning
point,
the
there's no
championship.
reason he shouldn't,
I've got
unless
them winning it. I've got them winning it all. I'm standing on business with that. I've got them winning it
if he
all.
gets an MVP and a Finals MVP, that man moves up the rankings. Once
Yeah,
again.
well, this is the thing. Like, people are putting Jokic ahead of Giannis. I don't.
Me neither.
But people
What
are
do you-
putting Jokic ahead of Giannis, and I believe if you're Giannis, you want to make sure that you reaffirm that you are the guy. You are the guy out of Europe. You want to let everybody know, hey, I'm one of one when it comes to the European players, and everybody is a tier below me. So, hey, if Giannis goes on that MVP run, that's good for me because I've got them winning it all.
That would be a fun Finals matchup.
You know what's going to be a fun postseason matchup is if we end up somehow getting Miami versus Boston and they take them to 6 games.
Which will probably somehow happen once again.
Yeah. Yep. Because if you're Boston, you don't want to see Miami.
Nope.
You don't want to see
terrified of
Miami.
Jimmy Butler.
They're tired of him in those ugly Heat culture jerseys. Ugly.
Heat culture, baby. Come
That's
on.
a terrible
Nah.
jersey.
Might
That's
be the
so
worst
trash,
thing.
dude.
The worst.
Like there was somebody somewhere on this planet was like, a lot of people talk about Heat culture. What if we just put it on the jersey? That's stupid.
Pat Riley had an idea, and it didn't market very well. That's what I think happened.
Hey, he's a basketball
Did you
coach.
see what they wrote in the B? Like,
what did it say?
Artist working, ugly wins, like just for a bunch of gritty phrases, and it's just hard to look at.
It's embarrassing. We're the ones that are supposed to say it. You're not supposed to.
Yeah, you didn't need to say it.
Yeah,
you weren't supposed to be the one.
You weren't supposed to say it. We were supposed to say it, not you.
Yeah.
Now it's weird. Now you look more like Uncle Rico. Especially when it's kind of a down year for them too. Gosh, dang.
Yeah, Jimmy's gonna disappear, and then they're gonna win a couple playing games and be right there.
Wow. Well, that's it. That's it for the Swishlist Podcast. That's what we got this week. Excited to have you guys here. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, share this podcast with someone that needs to know a little bit more about basketball. It's a lighter week, but this is the moment, right? This is the moment. Football season's over. We're heating up NBA Jam style. It's time. The NBA is about to really, turn your channels to ESPN, turn your channel to TNT. It's time to start watching this NBA.
Turn your channel to Swishlist Podcast.
And turn the channel to Swishlist Podcast. We're on every single platform. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a follow on Instagram, X, Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. TikTok. We're on all your favorite platforms or wherever you listen to podcasts. So please feel free. We'd love to see it. Roman, send us off.
This is the time. NFL is over, halfway through the season. All the football players are coming back to basketball as they should. This is the time to, get going. We'll get you going every week, tell you what's going on. So just get over to Swishlist Podcast. Like he said, we're on all of your favorite platforms. Subscribe, like, share with somebody, interact with us. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We want to talk about your topics. Send it through. If you're not subscribing, if you're not liking, if you're not talking with us, it's getting ridiculous. It's really getting ridiculous. Swishlist Podcast, we are out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Swishlist Podcast. Catch us on social, and we'll see you next week.